Hi there, friends. Today we are talking about our Pythagorean theorem quiz from Friday. And we're going to start with number 1. It says a squirrel sits on the ground 12 feet away from the foot of a tree. The distance from the squirrel to the top of the tree is 23 feet. How tall is the tree? And then it says we need to round to the nearest tenth. So I have my squirrel and my tree here. If the squirrel is 12 feet away from the foot of the tree, I know that this is going to be my 12 feet. And it says the distance from the squirrel to the top is this line here, which is 23 feet. And then we're trying to find, I'm going to name this A, the height of the tree. Remember when we use Pythagorean theorem, our formula is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So I don't know what A is, so down here I'll show my work. A I'm going to leave as A squared. B, I'm going to label this leg, and C, this leg. Remember, the hypotenuse is always the longest part of the triangle. So A squared plus my B squared, or 12 squared, and then set it equal to my hypotenuse, which is 23 squared. All right, bring down my A squared plus, I know 12 squared is 144. I don't have 23 squared memorized, so we can type that into our calculator. And we get 529. Hey, I need to get this A squared by itself, so I'm going to subtract 144 on both sides. When I do that, I end up getting A squared equals 385. Remember, the opposite of squaring is square rooting, so I am going to square root both sides of my equation. The square root of 385 is 19.6. Again, we're rounding to the nearest tenth. So the height of the tree is 19.6 feet. Okay. Looking at number 2, a jogger ran 2 miles east, then 3 miles north. What is the shortest distance she must run to return to her starting point? Okay, again, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. This is my A, B, my hypotenuse is C. 2 squared plus 3 squared equals C squared. 2 squared is 4. 3 squared is 9, equal to C squared. Okay. 4 plus 9 is 13, equal to C squared. The opposite of squaring is square rooting. I'm going to square root both sides. The square root of 13 is 3.6 on the dot. Well, not exactly on the dot, but that's rounded to the nearest tenth. 3.6 miles. Okay, moving on to number 3. It says find the distance between the points -8, -9, and -4, -10. Round to the nearest tenth. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and plot these points first. So -8, -9. I'm counting by 2's on this graph, so be careful of that. And -4, -10. All right, so I'm going to connect the dots. Oh, that's a terrible line. Let me try that again. That's a little better. Okay, I have a mini triangle here. So now I'm going to use my formula, A squared plus B squared equals C squared, to find the distance between my 2 points that I have highlighted in red. We're trying to find the distance of this point. So I know that from here to here is 1, so 1, and I know from here to here, oops, let me undo that. And actually, we're counting by 2's. Nope, we're not counting by 2's, this is 1. Okay, it looks like we're counting by 2's, we're actually counting by 1's, my bad. So that is 1, and then over here, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 4, and then we're trying to find C. So 1 squared plus 4 squared equals C squared. 1 times 1 is 1. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 plus 1 is 17. In order to get c by itself, I have to square root both sides. Those cancel. The square root of 17 is approximately 4.1. Okay. Number 4, find the values of x and y to the nearest tenth in the figure below. Okay, I'm going to work with this triangle first. So a squared, I'm going to name this A. This is going to be side B, side C. So a squared, 6 squared, plus b squared, I don't know what that is, so b squared equal to c squared, which is 10 squared. 6 squared is 36, plus b squared, which is what we're trying to find, equal to 10 squared, which is 100. Now, I need to get this b squared by itself. In order to do that, I have to subtract 36 from both sides. Those cancel. 100 minus 36 gives me 64. So b squared equals 64. Ah, looks like this is going to be an even number. So we're going to square root both sides. We do the opposite. The square root of 64 is indeed 8. So my side b here, this y is 8. So I'm going to use that to find the measure of this triangle. So now I'm going to do 4 squared. I'm going to draw a line here to separate it. 4 squared plus 8 squared equals x squared. 16 plus 64 equals x squared. I know that 16 plus 64 is 80. I'm going to square root both sides of my equation. The squares cancel. I'm left with x equals 8.9 rounded to the nearest tenth. So b equals 8 and x equals 8.9 are my two. And actually I can change this. I made it b, but this is technically, I'll make, so we know this is y. Y equals 8 and x equals 8.9. All right. Determine the length of the line to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to go ahead like I've done before. I'm going to draw my line here. Okay, again, we're counting by ones. So this length of this line is 2. The length of this line here, let me make sure I can count this, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're trying to find c. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So 2 squared plus 7 squared equals c squared. 2 squared is 4. 7 squared is 49 equal to c squared. 4 plus 49 gives me 53. I'm going to square root both sides. The squares cancel. When I take the square root of 53, I get approximately 7.3 rounded to the nearest tenth. Okay. All right, finally, the last one here is this triangle ABC has the following coordinates. If the pre-image is dilated by a scale factor of 2/3, what are the coordinates of the new image? Okay, when I solve this, I'm going to take each of the coordinates and multiply them by 2/3. Each of the coordinates, x and y, and multiply them by 2/3. Okay, now 2/3 is less than 1. So the figure is getting bigger, so we call this an enlargement. Or, I'm sorry, it's less than 1, not an enlargement, silly me. This is a reduction. My apologies, this is a reduction. It is less than 1, so this is a reduction. In your calculator, all you have to do, I'm just going to do a to show you what this would look like, a prime, okay? We have -3 and 6, not a prime, we'll just call this a. Now, if you're not using a calculator, which you should because you have a calculator, but if you didn't use a calculator, This is like saying negative 3 over 1 times 2 over 3. That would give me negative 6 over 3, which would give me negative 2. So my A prime coordinate would be negative 2. This is my x, this is my y. If I need to do it for both x and y. I multiply both. So then it would be 6 over 1. This is x. This is y. 6 over 1 times 2 over 3. That would give me 12 over 3, which is 4. So my new coordinates would be negative 2, positive 4. So if you're not using a calculator, this is what it's going to look like. If you are using a calculator, just use the ABC function. So 3 times 2, ABC 3 is 2. And then I just do the same thing. So 2, negative 6 times 2, ABC 3, negative 4. And then negative 9 times 2, ABC 3 gives me negative 6. Okay, so those are your new coordinates if you multiply each of those by 2/3. Good job, friends.